plug 1 divided by 9 in our calculator, we get about 0.11, okay? So you can either write it as a fraction or a decimal. It's kind of up to you. Okay, we're going to do the same thing. So we do 3 to the negative first. Okay, so when we do this, we get 1 over 3 to the first, which would just give us 1/3. Now let's think about this. When we have it to the 0 power, so 3 to the 0 power, anytime we have the 0 power, what do we get? Hopefully, you said 1, because we always get 1 when we raise it to the 0 power. Now I plug 1 into x here, so now we get 3 to the first. Hopefully we know what that is. That's 3. And then we have 3 squared. So that should give us 9. Okay, let's go ahead. We're going to plot these points. So we have -2, 1/9. So that's like barely above the x-axis. -1, 1/3. Once again, just a little bit above the x-axis. 0, 1. And then 1, 3. And then 2, 9. Now, for exponentials, and you've actually kind of seen a little bit of exponentials in Algebra 1. Once again, we are not working with any straight lines, so we have a nice curve to our graph, and we're going to go up, and then we have an arrow on both sides here, okay? Now, here's what I would like you guys to do. I'm going to have you guys pause the video, and if you need to, and it's really up to you, if you would like to go to desmos.com, you can plug in y equals 3 to the x to kind of help you here. So there is a key, or there is a keyboard if you need to do that. So you do y equals 3, and then there is that caret key if you need to. So a to the b power, and we can raise it to the x, and it'll graph it to you. So this may be kind of helpful if you need to. I mean, we've already graphed it, but to answer the following questions, A through D, I think I would suggest using this. So go ahead, pause the video, answers questions A through D using what you have on Desmos and what you have as part of your graph. Okay, let's see what you guys talked about here. So where does the graph cross the x-axis? Well, we can actually, or sorry, the y-axis. We can actually look at our graph here that we drew. Remember, that's our y-intercept, and we're talking about crossing. And so our y-intercept, as you can see, is going to be 0, 1. Okay, what is the domain? Now notice we have an arrow that is going to the left, so that definitely means we go to -infinity. Now you may be wondering, well, this arrow is going up, but remember, as it's going up, it is also going to the right. So we go to +infinity. Now let's talk about the range here. When we look at our Desmos, notice that it basically just hovers above this x-axis and it never goes below it, okay? So when we think about our range, and this actually will answer our question on D, do you think the graph will ever touch the x-axis? Okay. Well, let's think about this, right? So we know if we plug in positive numbers into x, we just get something bigger. If we plug in negative numbers into x, right, we get smaller numbers. But when we do this, like if I say 3 to 100 power or -100 power, right, that is just going to give me a fraction. We're going to get very, very, very close to the x-axis, but we will never reach it. And the reason being is because there's nothing that will make, like if we plug anything into x, there will never make anything that will give us 0. So do we think the graph will touch the x-axis? No, because nothing makes 3 to the x equals 0. We can plug in a -x as stated, but remember, that's going to give us a fraction. It will get very, very close to 0, but never actually equal to 0, okay? Now, that actually goes back to the range of the function. Because we are not going to reach the x-axis or touch the x-axis, basically that is not included in our range. So notice in our graph that everything above the x-axis will be part of our range. So here, we're going to have 0 to infinity to represent everything above the x-axis. Now, going back to D, because we're not going to have anything that makes 3 to the x equals 0, and this is actually going back to our rational functions a little bit, that means we actually will have an asymptote, and that will be at y equals 0. So with exponential functions, basically we are going to have asymptotes, but we're going to have a horizontal asymptote. Okay. Okay, now on your notes, you do have number 2 and number 3. I'm going to allow you guys, if you want to do that on your own, I highly suggest. It kind of just gives you more information about exponential functions. But to figure out your answers, there is the filled in notes. So if you want to try number 2 and try number 3 on your own, do that, and then you can look at the filled in notes on Schoology. Okay. Okay, make sure you guys watch the next video. That's where we're going to talk about how do we graph these exponential functions.